Welcome into Locked On Phillies. The winning streak is over. The Phils got throttled by the Diamondbacks, but they're still 9 for their last 10. This team is still in good shape. We'll talk about the series ender and the upcoming series with the Miami Marlins on today's Locked On Phillies.
You are Locked On Phillies, your daily Philadelphia Phillies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, this is Locked On Phillies. I'm your host, Connor Thomas. Been talking Phils baseball for years over on 97.5 The Fanatic. Now, happy to be here with you as your host of Locked On Phillies, and I want to thank you for making Locked On Phillies your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And today's episode is brought to you by Bet Online. Bet Online has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. Bet Online is where the game starts. Now, unfortunately, the game started for the Philadelphia Phillies in a bad place yesterday. It kind of seemed from early on that they didn't really have what they needed to take advantage of what was an advantageous situation against the Arizona Diamondbacks. The Phils come in looking to make it 10 in a row. They were not able to accomplish that. Unfortunately, it got going in the top of the first, and there really wasn't much of a fight put up the rest of the way by the Phillies. They lose 13-1. A lot to get into with yesterday's game. Now, before I do this, we need to level with each other. I need to tell you exactly how to handle this loss, because 13-1 to the Diamondbacks in a vacuum does not look good. They're still 9 for their last 10. They're still a very competitive team. They're still a talented offense. They still have talented starting pitching. Everything is okay with the Philadelphia Phillies. Just a rough Sunday game. Now, there's some things that need to be improved, and there's things we'll talk about that have to be addressed, but this is not like, oh, the Phillies are back again. No, they still have an easy schedule the rest of the way. They still have been really hot. They still have a chance to have the best month of June in franchise history. They're off to a great start for this month. Like, everything's looking up for the Philadelphia Phillies. Just a rough game in a vacuum. That being said, let's talk through the scoring plays, tell you how the Diamondbacks got their 13 runs, and we'll run through everything from yesterday's game that is of interest. It started in the top of the first. Ranger Suarez was not sharp from the beginning, but you get in a situation where you need an out, and a ground ball goes to Alec Bohm at third base. Defensive mishaps. Where have we seen this before? All over the place for the Philadelphia Phillies. And Bohm has been solid recently, but he fields the ground ball to third base, turns, runners coming from second to third. It was runners on first and second. Bohm could have tagged third base. He could have tagged the runner. He was probably about as far as I am from the computer screen, away from the runner. And all of a sudden, he just steps out of the base path and tries to beat the guy to second with the throw. Doesn't get there in time. Everybody's safe. You had the lead runner dead to rights, and you choose not to make the play. It's one of the most, what's the opposite of heads up? Heads down. It's one of the most heads down defensive plays I think I've ever seen at the major league level. Just terrible. And it puts Ranger Suarez in a situation where you got the bases loaded with no outs. Well, what happens next? Of course, these errors, they compound upon themselves. Momentum is a thing. Arizona had it early. Bases loaded, no outs. Well, Ranger Suarez gets a ground ball right back at him. What does he do? Well, he turns kind of quickly to second, does like a little half fake like he's going to second, but then squares up and throws it home to Realmuto, who just completely misses it. Gets a piece of it with his glove, but the ball squirts away. The runner coming from third to home is safe, who would have been out by a mile. Another runner is coming around third base and scores on the ball getting away. And just like that, it's 2-0 Arizona Diamondbacks with runners on first and second, or maybe it was first and third after that, with nobody out. Not good. Then Varsho comes up. He grounds out to second, scoring Ketel Marte, and the bases are loaded there. Or the bases aren't loaded, rather. It's second and third on the fielder's choice with one out. And then they're able to work out nice defensive work to end that inning. Ranger Suarez pitches out of a little bit of a jam, but it's already 3-0. Now you look at it and you're like, okay, well, you're facing a bullpen game for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Can the Phillies take advantage of that? The short answer is no. They couldn't. The only run the Phillies would score would be the next run scored in the game. Alec Bohm had a single to center field in the bottom of the fourth inning, scoring JT Realmuto, but not a good offensive game. The approaches were bad. It was just when they were going really good, the Phillies, they were seeing pitches outside the zone, not swinging at them, attacking pitches in the middle of the zone, attacking fastballs, leaving off speed. It was just a textbook approach to being a good baseball hitter. Yesterday, they didn't really have that. Swinging a lot of pitches up above the letters, swinging a lot of pitches out and away, reaching, trying to get stuff. And they were just getting flat out beat by some guys in the Arizona Diamondbacks bullpen that shouldn't be able to consist. But hey, it's a one-off game. That stuff happens. What are you going to do? Coming up in the top of the fifth, the Diamondbacks would get another on a Walker double to deep right center. Then the top of the sixth, well, this is where Arizona really poured it on. Rojas, who scored earlier in the game on that misplay by JT Realmuto, would have an RBI single to left. Walker singles to center, scoring Luplow and Rojas. 2-run single there. It's 7-1. Kelly walks. Marte scored. It was just a carousel of base runners for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Then at the top of the seventh, they score again. Ketel Marte with a 2-run single. James Norwood comes in the eighth. RBI single for Thomas, no relation to yours truly. And then a homer for McCarthy in the top of the ninth makes it 13-1 Diamondbacks over the Philadelphia Phillies. Here are my main issues from the game. I already told you about the approach by the Philadelphia Phillies. It's not good. The defense, we talked about in the first inning, not good. You cannot put your pitchers in a spot where they're in that much trouble early and you get behind the 8 ball, because even though this team can hit the ball, momentum is tough. When you get down to a major league team by 3 runs or more, it's hard to come back from that regardless of how good your team is. You don't want to dig an early hole, and that's what the Phillies defense did yesterday's game. Now, Ranger Suarez, though, not faultless. He went 4 1/3 innings pitched. He had 2 earned runs, which is not bad, all things considered. The fact that he got to where he was, it was a battle. It was a slog for Ranger Suarez. He had to really trudge through yesterday's outing. And he gave the Phillies a chance, but his command is in the worst spot I think I've ever seen it at the major league level. He's all over the place. He walked 4 batters in yesterday's game. His misses in the zone are up. His misses out of the zone are way out. Like, people aren't even considering swinging at it. Something's weird with Ranger Suarez right now, and his command is the biggest thing that I'm seeing. The stuff is still somewhat there. The velocity is still there. The biggest difference between last year and this year, he's just not hitting his spots. And you can't compete at this level if you're missing spots as poorly as Ranger Suarez was last night. Now, is it raise the alarm for Ranger Suarez time? I'm not quite there, even though I saw some tweets saying moving back to the bullpen yesterday. I'm not quite to that point where our alarms are going off for Ranger Suarez, but he's a point of interest, we'll say. He's not on the hot seat, but his seat is warming up a little bit. If 100 degrees is he's getting sent back to the bullpen, and 70 degrees is you're on the hot seat, he's probably at about like 50, 55 degrees right now. And he's up there. He's warmer than he is cold, but I'm not ready to make a move yet. Just something to monitor for Rob Thompson and the Philadelphia Phillies. And it was a lot of stuff compounded on top of itself in yesterday's game. It felt like one of those, all of the bad things that the Phillies have been avoiding, like they've had a lot of good luck hitting home runs off of Josh Hader twice. And I know that's not necessarily luck. That's skill on the part of Matt Vierling and Alec Bohm, who hit those home runs. But like booted ground balls right at second baseman or shortstop. That's happened. Advantageous pitching matchups, guys hitting hard contact at people. That's happened. It felt like all of the good luck the Phillies had, the bad luck came back all in one game. And maybe they got it out of their system, and that means they're back on track against the Marlins tonight. It just wasn't an ideal day at the ballpark. I don't think it's a long-term issue right now. It's just one game. Streak's over. We'll take 9 out of 10. We move on. And speaking of moving on, coming up, we're going to break down the upcoming series with Miami Marlins. We'll look at game 1. We'll look at the pitching matchups. I'll talk you through, like I always do, the projections, the games that you expect the Phillies to win. And maybe this is the time fingers crossed, hopefully, this is the time where the Phillies can finally exercise those demons the Miami Marlins have been representing for them over the past couple seasons. We'll break it all down next on today's Locked On Phillies. First, though, I want to tell you about AG1, Athletic Greens. It's a product I use literally every day. I wake up in the morning at about 4 a.m. I wake up, I make that shake, I take it with me to work, I drink it. It helps me get all of my nutrients that I need to start my day. I started taking it because I don't eat all that well, and I need some dietary supplements to keep me healthy and also give me the energy I need to get through my long days. Well, AG1, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens when you drink Athletic Greens. It's so good for you. It helps you stay alert. It helps your mental focus. It helps you staying awake and energy, like I talked about. All of this stuff improves if you just incorporate Athletic Greens. And it's healthy for you. It helps with your diet, everything like that. It's so good for you. And listen to some of the sustainability. Athletic Greens is a climate neutral certified company. In 2020, Athletic Greens purchased carbon credits that support projects protecting old growth rainforests. So when you're doing this, well, you're helping the planet too. It's healthy for you. It's healthy for the earth. It's awesome. They make donations to kids in need and organizations helping food get to kids that need nutrition like that, including No Kid Hungry here in the United States. It's a great company. It's a great product. It helps with your energy. Definitely go ahead and grab yourself some Athletic Greens to take. And the best part is we make it easy for you. Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/MLB Network. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/MLB Network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. All right, it's time to preview the Philadelphia Phillies' upcoming series with the Miami Marlins. A big one for the Phils as they look to improve their record in the National League East. 3 home games this time after traveling to Miami earlier in the season. Not a good time seeing the Marlins last time. Hopefully, it's better this time around. I'll tell you about that in just a second. But first, the Ultimate NBA Mock Draft starts June 16th with over 50 insiders. Nothing equals the Ultimate NBA Mock Draft. The Locked On NBA Big Board Draft experts, plus the Odyssey insiders, they'll all be a part of it. The first pick is June 16th. So search Ultimate NBA Mock Draft and follow now so you don't miss a single pick. Something great that we're doing from our Locked On NBA channel. Go ahead and check that out. The Sixers have the 23rd overall pick in the draft. They got it back from the Brooklyn Nets. Hey, big stuff for Philadelphia, trying to make some moves. If you're a Philly fan in general, go ahead and check that out. See what they could do at 23. Now back to the Philadelphia Phillies, whose draft is actually coming up in July. At some point, I'm going to have to talk to Lindsey Crosby of Locked On Prospects, talk about who the Phillies might draft. And I believe they have 17 overall in the first round. We'll get him on and do another crossover with Lindsey Crosby, who knows prospects left and right. But let's talk about the immediate future. Tonight, Game 1 of the Miami Marlins Philadelphia Phillies series, 7:05 first pitch here in Philadelphia. And, well, we've got a good pitching matchup in this one. Aaron Nola takes on Sandy Alcantara. Let's take a look at what Alcantara's done this year because it's preposterous. He's been one of, if not the best pitcher in the National League. He's got a 6-2 record, a 1.61 ERA. That's second in all of baseball. 77 Ks, 12th in all of baseball. An 0.94 whip, 7th in all of baseball. He's unbelievable. Now, well, let's take a look. How is he away? Well, he started 5 games, 30.2 innings pitched in those. He's given up 20 hits, 9 runs, 7 earned. So he's much better at home than he is on the road, but he's not bad on the road. He's walked 13 on the road, so the command's a little bit worse, but he's still striking out 34 in those 30.2 innings. It's a tough pitching matchup, especially when you look at a game yesterday where the Philadelphia Phillies had trouble with a bullpen game from the Arizona Diamondbacks. You're like, okay, well, now you're going to face one of the better pitchers in baseball with the Miami Marlins. It's going to be a tough matchup. Aaron Nola will have to bring his stuff. And the nod in this game, I would have to go ahead and give it to the Miami Marlins as far as the mound is concerned. Now, let's see what ESPN's giving them because it's the next game. Let's see what the matchup says and what the possibility of the Philadelphia Phillies winning this one is, because I feel like, if I remember correctly, from some odds that I looked at, well, I thought the Phillies would be favored. Looking at this ESPN analytics predictor, I've never seen this. It's got it listed as literally 50-50. 50.0% to 50.0% chance of winning for either side. It's a toss-up game. It's a tough one. It's going to come down to the offense, and I think the Phillies have a chance tonight, but I don't love the matchup in this one. If they lose a game in this Miami Marlins series, the first one that I would say that they lost would be this one against Alcantara and with Nola on the mound. No fault of Nola's, just a tough pitching matchup drawn by Aaron Nola in this one. Looking at the next matchup, well, you have Zach Eflin going against our good friend Trevor Rogers. Rogers has not been as good as he normally is so far this year. 3-5 record, 5.58 ERA and 44 Ks. He hasn't been good. A 1.54 whip. He's allowing 1.5 base runners per inning. He just hasn't been that great, and he's been pretty good recently. The past 7 days, he's gotten some work in. He's all right away. He's actually got a better ERA away from where the Marlins play their home park than he does at home. But still, that's a gettable game, and Eflin has been hot recently. I like the Philadelphia Phillies in that one to take advantage of the matchup there with Trevor Rogers. And then finally, you're going to finish out the series with Kyle Gibson facing off against Pablo Lopez. Lopez has been good too. He's got a 2.3 ERA, 72 Ks, 102 whip, and a 4-2 record for the Miami Marlins. The strength of this team has been their starting pitching. They've been really good, and you're seeing two of their best guys in this series. That Lopez-Gibson matchup is going to be difficult as well, but you're not seeing any slouches if you're the Marlins either. It's a tough pitching series. Look for low runs. We talked about it in the Brewers series. It didn't really work out that way because the Brewers kind of fell apart. But what I said going into that one is the Phil's pitching is going to have to be big because the Brewers pitching is so good that 3-4 wins might win one of those games. It didn't really play out that way, but I'm going to echo that statement when it comes to the series with the Miami Marlins. Now, looking at the batting leaders real quick, you know who your leaders are for the Philadelphia Phillies. Schwarber leads in home runs with 16. Bryce Harper's up to 316 for his average. He's leading the team in 45 RBIs. All good. Let's compare that to the Marlins because the offense, well, it's not the strength of this Miami Marlins team. Jorge Soler has 12 home runs to lead the team. Not as much of a hitter's park down there in Miami. Less of an opportunity to hit balls out of the yard. Advantage, Phillies. Garrett Cooper's batting .315, though. Good batter so far this year. Bryce Harper, .316, only .001 better than him. You got to look out for the Miami Marlins right fielder, Garrett Cooper. And then finally, RBIs. Jazz Chisholm has 40, and he's been a revelation for them since he came up to play middle infield for the Miami Marlins. A little bit of issues in the clubhouse, I guess, over the past week or so with the players-only meeting that seemed to be pointed towards Chisholm, but he's still a very talented player. He has killed the Phillies in his time in the major leagues. Well, everyone on the Marlins has. It'll be a tough series. It really will. And this one does hold a little bit of weight as to how we view the Phillies as they get ready to finish that one. Then they'll go to Washington to take on the Nationals for 5 games. A lot of stuff factors in, but we're going to learn a lot about what Phillies are the right Phillies. Is it the 9-game win streak Phillies or was it the Joe Girardi Phillies? This series will give us a glimpse into that as you see another NL East opponent come into the bank. All right, we're going to wrap up, and we're going to look a little bit deeper into the Marlins lineup that we're going to see tonight, or the projected Marlins lineup that we're going to see tonight. No announcement. See how Aaron Nola will have to attack them to get a chance to get the lead. Coming up next, we'll talk about it on today's Locked On Phillies. First, though, I want to tell you about BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all your betting stats and sports info. You can find all the latest sports developments, news, and odds, including this year's basketball championship matchup tied at 2-2, heading back to Golden State. Make some money on that one. The NHL hockey finals are now set. Colorado, Tampa Bay. Will Tampa Bay three-peat? You can make some money if you think so. You can also make some money if you don't. Depending how much you wager, you can make money either way. Major League Baseball's going on. The Phil streak is cooled, but hey, maybe they're ready for another one. And of course, all the latest fighting news from MMA and UFC to boxing. BetOnline is your continued source for all of your sporting wagering information, including live betting, esports, and more. So head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, it's where the game starts. All right, not too long of a segment here. Just wrapping up. Off the poll, by the way, will be answered tomorrow. I'm going to give a little bit more time for that poll to play out. So that'll be in tomorrow's episode where we talk about the most impressive things from the Philadelphia Phillies winning streak. But in lieu of that, we're going to run through some of the other names on the Miami Marlins roster besides just the ones that are leading in those specific categories to see, well, does Aaron Nola have a chance to find some deficiencies with this team? The answer, well, it's a resounding yes if you look at all the numbers. Just looking at this team and the team batting so far this year. Jacob Stallings is batting 206. Jesus Aguilar, oh, he's batting 307. That's pretty darn good. 8 home runs, 27 RBIs. He's a guy to look out for. Sorry, he's not batting 307. I looked at his OBP. He's batting 252. I was going to say, I thought that seemed high. Jazz Chisholm batting 251. Just for comparison, well, JT Realmuto and Nick Castellanos are both right around that 250 mark. It might seem high compared to some of the other numbers around baseball. It's still not great for guys that are batting 2 or 3 in your lineup, stuff like that. So keep an eye on those premier bats as not being as good as you may assume they are. Miguel Rojas, who's playing a little bit of shortstop for the Marlins this year, is batting 213. Brian Anderson's on the 10-day injured list, though. Not sure if he'll be back for this series or not. Not a worry. Jorge Soler, who we talked about leading the team in home runs with 12. Well, he's tied with Jazz Chisholm for 12 for the team lead. He's also only batting 216, though. So Chisholm, the much more dangerous batter at nearly 40 batting points above an average. Jesus Sanchez, the second Jesus we talked about following Mr. Aguilar, he's batting 225 in center. Avisail Garcia, who's been playing a lot of right field, quarter outfield for them, batting 223. Garrett Cooper, who's on the 10-day injured list who we talked about, batting 315. Now, I believe he may come back. I'm not sure, actually, if he's going to come back for this series. The Phils dodge a little bit of a bullet there. I didn't realize until right now he was on the injured list for Miami. So, hey, you're looking at their best hitter, not available. Everyone else who we just ran through, who will be probably in the starting lineup for the Miami Marlins, the highest is 267, and that's Brian Anderson, who's also on the injured list. The highest who's available is Jesus Aguilar batting 252. Yeah, I'll take my odds with that. The only other ones, John Birdie, who's been a utility infielder, is batting 269, over 110 plate appearances. He's a nice bat. But, man, this is another one where the strength of this team is the pitching, talking about the Miami Marlins. The weakness is the lineup. And when you have Nola and you have Gibson and you have Eflin all going in a series, well, again, I'll take my chances with that, and then we'll move on to Washington and see how everything goes with the Nationals. But just an interesting check-in to remind you that these teams the Phillies are lining up against right now, not offensive powerhouses. The arms should be able to dominate. And hopefully the Phillies bullpen can have a get-right game after yesterday where they fell apart a little bit. But, hey, only time will tell. We'll find out when the game pops up later tonight, 7:05, Citizens Bank Park. We'll keep an eye on it and see exactly how it plays out. That's all I've got for you today for Locked On Phillies. I want to thank you, as always, for making Locked On Phillies your first listen every day. Now make your second listen Locked On MLB. Paul Francis Sullivan, Sully, he's incredible. He knows baseball inside and out. He's got stories about the game. He knows everything going on around the league, covers the Major League Baseball entirety, not just a sector or a team or division. No, all of it. Check out Locked On MLB. It's available wherever you get your podcasts. Sully does a great job with that. Make sure you're rating, reviewing, subscribing. I want to thank you all. We just cleared 200 subscribers on Locked On Phillies. That's awesome. I want to thank you for your continued support. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Go ahead, click, subscribe, follow on Twitter, all of that good stuff. You know the spiel by now. But I appreciate all of it. And hopefully you're enjoying everything that's going on Locked On Phillies. Hey, let's start on another win streak today now. What do you say? Sound good? Great. Hopefully we'll have a win to talk about tomorrow on the next edition of Locked On Phillies.